So today I want to talk about a topic that I've sort of been reluctant to talk about because I just find it overdone. I find that most coaches talk about this topic. It is important, Joanna, but I just thought, man, what extra new thing can I add into this topic of boundaries until I had a session. I mean, a lot of my videos, especially from now on, are going to be very client stories based, in as much as I won't mention clients and I do get permission from them. I do say I might mention this in a video, Skamagala, and like, no problem. So there's a client, she's not really new, she's someone that I've been working on and off with since 2020. So it's one of those people that wasn't my student, and over time she would come in for a spit, for a few sessions and then disappear again and then come back, have a few sessions. So she's returned again, and it's a very hard situation she's finding herself in that she's finding herself alone. And she's disconnected from a lot of her friend groups. She's cut off. Let me just put it straight up. She's cut off a lot of her friends. She's cut off a lot of family, including one of her favorite cousin that she was close to, and she's cut her off as well. And it was time that she faced that, and it's something that I've known for a while about her, that she doesn't have boundaries, but she thinks she does because she cuts people off. And she's one of those people that think cutting people off is a boundary, and it is not. And I remember telling her this a bit earlier, I think in 2023, when we were having one of those reconnections, and I'm like, that this thing of yours of cutting friends, just because when you are tired of a particular behavior that you never mentioned in the first place. This thing of cutting or ghosting or blocking people without explanation is not a boundary. And she would say things like, no, I want my peace. I'm protecting my peace. So as a coach, even if you see something, even if you see a trend and you see a behavior and you see a pattern, if the client or the person is far away from seeing it, mentioning it will do more harm. It will push them more than bring them closer. So as a coach, if you're a coach listening to this, one of the tricks is, or if you're a new coach, is that you mention something, and the way they react will tell you if they're ready to go further, or going further or pushing is actually going to cut them. They want to run. It's one of those things you learn along the way as a coach, how to navigate about that. So I remember in 23, and I said, actually, you don't have boundaries. And my God, she nearly ate me up, because in her view, she has boundaries and she knows what she wants and she knows who belongs in her space and who doesn't. She's uh, regulating her nervous system, which is another buzzword lately that we use. And she wants her peace more than anything. She's prepared to lose people, believing that more people will come in. But what she is not realizing, what she was missing, which she is now ready to receive because she's back and she's ready to talk about, okay, I'm losing people. So what she didn't realize then is that indeed she didn't have boundaries. And now she's back and she wants to talk about the fact that, why is it that no one stays in my life? Why is it that I end up having to cut people off? Why are people taking advantage of me? And then when she's there, because she's now there now we can talk about the fact that actually what you think is boundaries, this cut, hey, my peace, hey, this, hey, I'm guarding my nervous system, hey, is actually you being avoidant, you being terrified of rejection, you being terrified of great adult conversation, you being terrified of conflict management, you being terrified of speaking your truth, saying it clearly and kindly and unambiguously, what is acceptable in your life, what is not acceptable in your life, how far you can go with something, how far you can't. This is you unable to have those adult conversation. So you resort to a childlike way of being, which is to avoid, to run, to block. Now suddenly you are stuck and you're alone and there's no one in your life. And that peace that you were talking about is not even there. It's not even peace, it's actually agony. You are isolated, you are alone, and it's bad. So now let us talk about why cutting people off is not boundaries and what boundaries are. So let's just go there in case you are one of those. And I know a lot of people are there, and you see it in social media. It is encouraged. I remember a while back there was a video, or was it a video, or it was a reel that was making rounds on Instagram, where everyone was laughing about it, where someone was like, I am the snip 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 queen. If this happens, I cut. If they do this, I cut. If this, my piece is important. And I know it's an encouraged behavior, but it is not correct. It's actually not helping you become the adult, boundaried, loving, kind person that you know yourself to be. So let's get into it. And as usual, I must put on my glasses so that I look at the notes I've made so that I don't run off a tangent. Because when I don't have notes, I run off a tangent. So let's get into it. So without taking you through a boundary lesson, because it's going to be long and it might be a series, and I really don't want to do a series on boundaries. I have better series to do. Without taking you through a whole lesson of what boundaries are, what you want to take, the rule of thumb is that a boundary is basically saying, this is not acceptable in my life, in my time, in my space, and this is. So it's about understanding what works for me and what doesn't work for me, which means what? It means that if you are going to be someone with boundaries, you are going to be someone who is self-aware, someone who understands yourself quite well, maybe not very, very well, but you understand the things that, this does not make me comfortable. I don't like it when you speak to me this way. I don't like it when you do this thing. We have there's clouds, so the sun comes in and out, hence you see the different shades. I actually love it, the way it just brightens up the room and then the sun disappears again. Sorry for that side note, just in case you can see it. So you are basically saying, it makes me uncomfortable when you always keep me waiting. Let's say you're saying that to your friend instead of, re motlwaetse o tlhola le late. Re motlwaetse o cancela ka di last minute. Re motlwaetse they can she can stand me up. And then you tolerate that behavior. And then one day, without mentioning it to your friend, that you don't like it when they're always late, you don't like it when they stand you up, you don't like it when they cancel last minute, suddenly you ghost the person out. You cut them off. So a boundary is not something you do at the end, because when you do it at the end like that, when you've cut them off, it's not a boundary anymore. It is an exit. It's a running. It's an avoiding, because you avoid having a real conversation. You can't. I mean, this is the third time that we agree on 11 o'clock and you show up at 12:30. You disrespect my time. You disrespect my being, because my time, it's something I can't get back. And when now you keep coming a bit late and you constantly have excuses. Or, Chobe, you can't cancel the last minute because I had made plans. So now what am I supposed to do? Even it doesn't matter, what am I supposed to do? The point is you need to have that conversation. That is putting a boundary so that your friend knows. Next time, o tlo go botsa in advance. Or listen, friend, instead of 11, o tlo botsa ka 10:30. I know we agreed on 11, but can we make it 12:30? Because I guess happy. Angakaqali nokuqala. And then it depends ukuthi how do you handle it. And if the friendship is solid, it's based on real love, it's based on mutual respect, you can say, okay, 12 is fine. Oh, no, no, no. Actually, let's postpone it to another day because I need to go via this and this and this. So 12 won't work. It won't give us enough time. Finish and clear. You have set a boundary. Another thing is, let's say your friend tends to be a bit sarcastic, or they have those low-key jokes, or they have those twisted compliments. Well, complimented, but it has a sting at the end. It's not a real compliment. It's a compliment, but it's not a real compliment. Things like, I love this for you. This is nice for you. It's a compliment, but it's weird, So if you have someone who in your life, a friend or colleague who has those undertones, one day during the cafeteria, during coffee time, during lunch, when the moment is right, because I care whatever it bugs you, you raise it. I don't like it when so. I don't like it when you say something and then it has this undertone thing. Why do you do that? And then a conversation ensues. Sometimes that's what they're doing. It's just, it so happens to be their habit, but they are not aware that it's hurting people. And what you would have done at the time, you would have helped them be self-aware in case they're doing it to other people, in case other people don't like it, and no one has the guts to actually face that. Do you understand what we mean by boundary makes you an adult? Boundary, you have to be self-aware, and to be self-aware, you have to be an adult, and to be an adult, you have to be okay with discomfort. So a lot of people, a lot of women would rather jump off a cliff. I tell you now, they would rather jump off a high mountain, table mountain, than to have these deep conversations, these adult conversations with people they refer to as friends. In one of the videos, when I did that series on survival mode, in the expansion video, I spoke about how friendships deepen when you are in expansive mode. And that's when boundaries are in place, you know. And don't get me wrong, sometimes there are moments where you need to cut people off, but those are very extreme moments. That's when your boundaries are being violated, regardless of how many times you mention something, regardless of how many times you are clear, a person keeps on stumbling and stepping on your toes, then you have a right to cut them off. The right you don't have to cut them off is if someone doesn't even know what they did. You've never even so much as mentioned a discomfort. It was always, kuyamotsheba ujwalo, ayi wena ne-sarcasm yakho, ayi wena ama-jokes wakho. You take it, you tolerate it, you tolerate it, and you tolerate it. Kanti actually, you don't like it, and eventually you reach your limit because we're human, and then you think the best thing to do is to exit by cutting or by blocking or by avoiding. And that takes you nowhere, because guess what's going to happen? Because this universe is here for you, right? The universe is here for you, and it's here to teach you things so that you learn. The universe is going to bring you even more people like that, even more. So that you what so that you learn to actually speak, you learn to put a boundary that you apparently value so much, you learn to understand what is it that I like and what is it that I don't like, what is it that I want in my life and what is it that I don't want in my life, what kind of people are allowed in my life and what kind of people are not allowed in my life. So the boundaries are set by you understanding you. And then everybody else, what? We mirror that. We will treat you the way you treat yourself. We will treat you the way you treat yourself. And I want to close with a very personal but beautiful lesson that I learned on boundaries with a friend of mine, Timothy Norris. And if you were once a Stretch podcast listener, you know the story because I like to share the story. It's a powerful lesson on boundaries that I had to learn. So we all know Timothy Morris, right? So Tim is a friend of mine, and back in, I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken, those early days, 2015, 2016, there was a gig that I was promised for Women's Month. A company had said, listen, they spoke to me around May, June to say, listen, we will have a Women's Day event, and we want you to be a speaker. We want it to be a big seminar. We want you to run with it. So you can maybe gather other speakers, the theme. I don't remember what the theme was. And I remember thinking, good shot, Tim, I can team up with Tim. And the reason I wanted to team up with Tim is because Tim had also roped me into another event. It was a BMF Women's Month event 2 years prior. And so I thought, okay, one hand washes the other, I'm returning the favor. Let me team up with Tim. He's a great speaker. Women love him. He has a great brand, and he's a great person to associate with. And so it's May, and end of May around there, they tell me this. I rush and I tell him, and I'm like, listen, the 9th and the 10th, there's this big seminar. So just block your time because, this is a big one. June, I follow up with the client and they're like, yeah, no, they're working budgets. I tell Tim, yeah, they're still working out some budgets and all that. Meanwhile, Tim has blocked the 9, 10 for me. End of June, I don't know, I didn't follow up. Around July, and by July, people are booking. And Tim is a big brand, guys. People want him. He is saying no to gigs on the 9th and the 10th because of my promise. This was, to be fair to me, even though I'm owning up the story, it was a parastatal. It was a quasi-government. You know how we'll do this, and then they change their mind last minute. But that's not Tim's problem. I needed to communicate. Gore batho ba se ba thotse. How early July, the client is quiet, I'm following up, nothing, but I'm failing to let Tim know. So I think around mid-July, because by that time we should be planning, we should be strategizing, we should be talking about our topics and all that. And I'm quiet. And Tim sent me a message that I still have today because it's just so beautifully written. But umphoxa, like uyangiphoxa that time, but the message is so, so beautifully written. And he said something to the tune of one, I love you, Lebo. I respect you very much. You and I are kindred spirits. We were walking the same path. It worries me when you don't value me in the same way that I value you. I get that clients cancel. I'm not a child. I know clients promise things and they cancel. But at the moment you felt like, hey, this thing is a bit wobbly, you should have let me know so that I can open up dates for people who would have had me. You know as well as I do that a lot of people would want to have me on the 9th specifically because it is Women's Day. And because of you, because of my respect for you, I kept that date. And the reason I'm coming now is because there is a big opportunity for me for the day. And I was willing to negotiate with you to say, can we do it together? Even can we do yours? And then can we do, but I can see you are not coming forth and I'm reaching out and you're telling me that the client is wobbly, maybe let's not, maybe they're not coming forth anymore. And if I did not call you, if I did not follow up, were you going to follow up with me? And then he proceeded to teach me a lesson on how do you treat my time? How do you treat my energy? How do you respect me? And make no mistake, it doesn't mean that I don't respect Tim. I did. I just did not have the ability to, or I think maybe I was embarrassed, or maybe I was hoping that they'll come around instead of letting him know at the time that, ah, no, ngathi, ayikho le nkukhu asichithele amanzi. I waited too late. But it was a beautiful lesson that I never repeated, especially in our industry. And it is a lesson that you need to learn as well when it comes to human communication. If someone is expecting a communication back from you, it doesn't matter what it is, even if you owe them money, and they're calling you back or they're texting you, you have to return that text, even if the returning of the text is to say, I still don't have money, or I don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna pay you. That is an answer. And if it's truth, but you don't ghost, you don't run, you don't block, you don't cut someone off just because you don't not have the ability to confront, to face, and to deal with the real adult stuff. So I wanted to share this today because my client is now ready to deal with her issues of cutting people off. So part of what I'm taking her through in the session is understanding who she is, understanding what is it that matters to her, what is it that she wants, why is it that she cannot say the things that she needs to say, where in her childhood, teenhood, early adulthood, that speaking up was a threat. Why is it? When did it happen? Can we deal with the inner child? Can we deal with the inner teen? Because those are childhood stuff. In childhood, perhaps speaking up or telling the truth was punishable. So you learned not to do it. Maybe speaking up and telling the truth made you not belong to a particular group. So you learned to just tolerate nonsense. But you are 36 now. You are 41. That can't be the modus operandi anymore. You are a grown up, you probably have children, you need to be modeling certain things. And modeling boundaries is one of the most beautiful gifts you can give to your children, to your friends, to your family, to everybody else. And one last thing on boundaries that people misunderstand, boundaries are kind. It's being kind to let someone know what it is that you prefer and what you don't prefer, because then you allow them to see you for who you are. You are not giving them some version they don't understand, which is why it's so perplexing when you are suddenly cut off. Or this is why it's so painful when people are cut off or ghosted. It's painful because we don't know what happened. You don't know. It's like, what? You know? So yeah, that's all I need to say on this. And I am working on this with the client. And if you find yourself being someone who's afraid to tell your truth, to confront things, to conflict resolute, to do conflict resolution, I mean to say, yeah, you can come through. You can come through. We can have a session. Speaking of a session, I am available again. I am open for the next quarter of coaching. There's a few spots left because the few people I started with in January who did the 3 months journey are now done, and they're now living their life with the tools from coaching. So I'm open. If you are keen, email me, lebupuleswork@gmail.org, or you can go onto my brand new website, lebupuleswork.org. Did I say .org with that? Email is lebupuleswork@gmail.com. And then the website is lebupuleswork.org, www.lebupuleswork.org. And then click on in for the individual. So the tab is home, about, for the individual, for the company. Click on for the individual, and then you'll see how I work. And then with that, this is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours.